Hello, my name is Emma. I'm a practicing Catholic and I'm also going to a different house of worship every week. This week we're back from a little bit of a winter break and we are going to a Greek Orthodox church with my friend. So let's go. We are back, so let's talk a little bit about this service. So I will say I really enjoyed it. I thought it was beautiful. And to give a little bit of background, so I attended a Greek Orthodox church, and previously in September I attended an Orthodox church in America service. So again, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that all these Orthodox churches are in communion with each other, so they have the same beliefs about doctrine, about church tradition, about interpretation of scripture, but they're organized into regional churches. So the service that I attended in September was all in English, and this one was mostly in Greek. The first thing that hit me when I walked into the church was just how beautiful it was. There were gold arches, there were murals on pretty much every surface. Also, when you first walk into the building, you can hear some of the chanting. This choir was amazing, and this is something that I had learned at the Orthodox Church in America, or OCA, and again, here, this whole service was sung through, and the choir was so talented. Oftentimes, there would be people singing the prayer in tandem. Sometimes, though, they would split off and do different parts. And first of all, the melodies and counter melodies were so cool to hear together, but also you have this music from another part of the world, and so you don't always hear these scales or these chords together. And even though I didn't fully understand all of the prayers, even though they had given me kind of a book to follow along, it was just so beautiful to hear. And I think one of my favorite parts was during the consecration when you had the priest doing a prayer and then the choir doing some prayer kind of underneath it, and they had this underlying, kind of sounded like just long tones, kind of like a humming noise, but it was so beautiful. And so a little bit more about the service itself. So once again, it was pretty much all in Greek. They had this one book, and I'll put up a picture, that had the Greek, what they were saying in the English translation, and it was a lot of just service parts that I hadn't heard before. So there were a few things that I recognized throughout. So the Nicene Creed, the Holy, 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 it is right and just, but that was pretty much it. Interestingly, for the readings, which is something I hadn't picked up on before, is that they had a reading from an epistle and a reading from the gospel. I didn't hear a psalm, but also I wasn't totally following the whole time, so there might have been one that I missed. But similarly to the Catholic Church is that all of their readings are standardized too, so you could go to another church and hear the same things. Today was Forgiveness Sunday, which is also called Cheese Fair Sunday, and it's the Sunday before Lent starts. And both of the readings are about this, and I think the sermon was very succinct in saying forgiveness is important. It means, at least in Greek, apparently the word means like giving space or allowing space, and how often by forgiving people, you're not really freeing them because they already did it. You're really just freeing yourself from holding grudges and from feeling upset towards them, which I really liked that. And also the idea of not waiting for someone to say sorry to forgive them, just having that be proactive on your part. Just a couple random thoughts too. So right before the consecration, they had this sort of procession, but it was like everyone at once. So it was 2 crosses, and then they had a bunch of altar servers. So it was 4 liturgical fans, 4 candles, the priest, the deacon, and an incense person. And I thought it was really interesting that the vestments for the altar servers and the liturgical fans were very similar to the Byzantine Catholic Mass that I've attended. And maybe this is just more a general Eastern Church thing. I'd be interested in looking at some other ones too to see kind of what that looks like. The communion itself was really interesting because it was pretty similar to the OCA in that they had the chalice and they put the fully leavened bread into the chalice. They used a silver spoon to spoon it out and give it to people. And then afterwards, people who weren't baptized Orthodox were invited to have the blessed bread that wasn't actually consecrated. Some overall takeaways was, first of all, I really enjoyed the service. I think it definitely was one of the most foreign ones that I've been to, because I don't think I've been to a service from another church that was also in a different language. So it was kind of hard to follow along, but it was really beautiful. I think the music, like the reverence that everyone showed, just the emphasis on the full worship experience was beautiful. I was also, once again, struck with how similar a lot of the theology is between the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church, just talking to my friend after about things like confession, things like praying for the dead, and even the role of tradition in church, and really valuing the ancient aspects of the faith. There's all these things that we are really proud of as Catholics, and sometimes we assume are unique to us, but it's also like other people also have these and they're also really proud of them. So in general, I just really enjoy this. I think just being able to have these conversations with people and talk about faith is not something that we can do a ton in our everyday lives, but I always learn a ton from it. And just more in general, so I took a little bit of a break over the winter. I have a couple churches that I've attended and just haven't done the videos yet for, so I'm going to be putting those up in the next few weeks. And yeah, it's a little warmer in Chicago, so I'm excited to venture out again. And yeah, I'll keep you updated. I'm excited to keep going.